Okay, so I don't know how many of these I'm gonna make. I'm trying not to be super annoying, but this is just how I'm feeling right now, and so I'm just trying to give you real time, like where I'm at, because I'm just thinking, and I'm still baffled that a person could muster up their lips to say what they said to me after I said what I said to them. It's just like, how could you make it more obvious to me that you are an agent of the devil? How could you make it more obvious? You know, like just what? And like I've said before, like I don't think that anything is inherently 110% good or bad. I think everything has positive and negative connotations to it, even something like the devil frequency, if we can label it that way. You know, everything has positive and negative connotations to it. Because to some degree, angels are scary as fuck. If you ask anybody, if you ask the Bible, angels are scary as fuck. Do not be afraid. Why the fuck do I need to say that? Why do I need? Oh, because I look terrifying. Oh, because my energy is terrifying. You know? But, and I say that to say that there's a duality to everything, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, I don't mean to paint it as though like I'm this saint and I'm this angel, I'm this like perfectly good person. You know, I just try my best. I do my best. Sometimes I fall short, but I always come back to my spiritual center. I always come back to forgiveness and to love and to clarity and to truth. You know what I mean? And one thing I've noticed is that when you bring these principles to somebody who is not living in alignment with these principles, 9 times out of 10, they will lash out at you. They will make it very clear to you that that is just not who they are. And I think that this person made it very clear, this, because I got a new counselor, and hopefully by the time this gets posted, I'll like have another counselor, because I asked for one. But this new counselor, we were talking, we were getting to know each other or whatever, and I told him that I like channel angelic frequencies and like otherworldly energies, and I give people advice and stuff like that. And he even complimented me on how spiritually centered I am, and he was like, you know, I wish more people were like that. But once again, after he said that, like not directly after, I don't mean to make it sound like he immediately went for the jugular, but like he said that a few lines later, he was like, yeah, you need a wake-up call. You really need to wake up. You really need to make some changes, because you're headed down the road to prison or getting, he didn't say it verbatim, but he told me a story about somebody that he mentored that ended up getting raped and murdered. And he also compared me to the person. He said that I was basically like a carbon copy of the person who got raped and murdered. So we could put two together, like, you know what he was insinuating, like, and he said that, and I challenged him, because I'm like, okay, I think that's completely inaccurate. Like, I don't see how you get that picture, you know? And he was adamant on like making sure that I got the picture, that I understood, you know? And it was just like, I think that's really gross. Like, how? Like, because then from my perspective, it's just very obvious to me that you don't have a very clear understanding of like what it means to be spiritual and what it means to be spiritually connected. Because I don't play by your earth or your earth rules. You know what I mean? Sure, I know how to, and I know how to balance, because that was one thing he was telling me. He was like, I need to live between worlds. And I'm like, I already do that. And when I said that, like, he didn't acknowledge that. He didn't like try to take that into consideration. It was just like he was trying to form a picture based off of like whatever preconceived notions. And it's so frustrating when you point something out that is very obvious and people are so quick to be like, that's not what it is. You have preconceived notions of me. You read a file and you went with that file, and it's just not conducive. It's not productive, you know? And one thing that I told him, one thing that I basically said to him, or I tried to impart onto him, is that like, regardless of like the titles, regardless of the titles that we hold and like what your position is or what your job is, we're all here to learn, you know? And if you refuse to learn, that's on you, bubby. That has nothing to do with me. But for you to be in connection with me, for you to have this much access to me, and you're supposed to be helping me, you need a reality check. You need to understand you can't always have your way, man. Like no, what the fuck? And the thing about that, like, I'm not perfect with my boundaries. Once again, I mentioned in the last video, like, there's a person that I'm dating who definitely has this similar sort of energy of, like, where they're supposed to be. And I say supposed to be very lightly, but they're supposed to be in a certain headspace, supposed to be in a certain energy. But throughout their life, they've kind of chosen regression. They've chosen comfort and stagnancy. Once again, no judgment, to each their own, but, like, get away from me with that, you know what I mean? Yeah, like, and I don't know, like, I'm saying this just to be truthful. And I don't know, like, I hate that I'm, like, so special in that, because, like, a lot of people have a really hard time reconciling with the truth of a situation. It's just like, because, like, one of the truths that I was having, and whether or not this is true, I hope to God that this is just a misperception, but this is my truth. This is, you know, the person that I'm dating does not actually love me in the way that I would like, or I need. And that is a truth that I've sat with, and it's been very painful. But, like, I'm not about to, like, lie to myself just to feel better. Like, the fuck? You know? So, and also another truth is that these counselors could potentially be actively working to, like, hinder my progress or whatever. And that is the truth that I've had to sit with, that has made me very emotional, to think that, like, I would have to search and search and search just to find somebody who is aligned with me. You know what I mean? Because, like, once again, the hopeful optimist in me wants to believe that, like, you know, the mental health field is the mental health field, and it's supposed to be good for the mental health. But, like, once again, it's very corrupted. A lot of people don't actually have the heart for what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that if I chose the route into psychology, I think I would be a really good psychologist, a really good therapist. You know what I mean? But, like, I didn't choose that, so I just studied privately. You know? But it's just like, because there's so many fucked up people in these positions. Like, people who just want a job, people who just want to make the money, people who just want to be looked at as a certain way. And it's like, I don't care about that, man. I don't care about your ego. Like, fucking stop getting into jobs where you know you don't actually give a fuck about the people that you're interacting with. You know what I mean? Point blank period. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't, and maybe this is just me coping with whatever happened, but I believe on some level, the reason why I didn't get a solid job in massage therapy is because you get connected to these people. You get connected to these people that you're supposed to be helping. And, or at least I do. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's a lot of energy for me to take on daily, weekly, me touching somebody's body for an hour, maybe possibly dealing with their mental, emotional issues. You know what I mean? Like, spiritual issues, you know what I mean? Like, and I already do that with card pulls, but, like, there's a bit of a distance, and I've allowed myself boundaries with that. You know, I don't get overly involved with my clients. Like, I might pray for them in my personal time and all that jazz, but, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. Once again, I really just want us to do better. I do. Like, I just don't think certain people should be in certain positions, certain jobs. You know, I think it's quite sinister to think somebody with a closed heart center would even think or consider going into a health profession, or a profession where the heart is necessary, where it's necessary to have compassion, where it's necessary to have empathy. You know what I mean? And then you just bypass that because whatever reasons, because you want to be comfortable, you want to feel comfortable, you want to, you know what I mean? It's just really gross and negligent, you know? And I don't know, maybe part of me feels, maybe this is a crazy thing to say, maybe this is going to sound ridiculous, but part of me feels like the anger that I feel around the situations is just like a manifestation of how my spirit guides feel around it. You know what I mean? And so I can only imagine what my spirit guides might be doing that I don't know about because I get angry. And I don't necessarily always do something with that anger directed towards the person. So it's just like, I know it's going somewhere. I know something is happening. You know? Because what the fuck? Okay, I just witnessed something very subtle that just took me back to my meth days. I don't know what direction I should go in, like verbally, but like that really threw me for a loop. I basically saw this little section of land that reminded me of another section of land where me and other druggies would do drugs. And I guess people slept there too. I don't know. But it was right behind a Burger King or whatever. And yeah, people would just hang out there and do drugs and shit. And I don't know, that just took me back. I don't know like how I'm supposed to process that, but like that's what I'm thinking about right now. Like I'm transported back in time. And also that's another thing. I told this guy I was in active addiction. And he thought that it was a smart idea to ask me what specific drug, as if that really matters. And I think because I told him a drug that he does, because he very obviously does marijuana, he smokes marijuana. You know, like I saw it in his car, it was very obvious. Even before I saw any smoke, I was like, this guy smokes something, I don't know. And I told him, you know, I used to be on meth. Thank God I'm off of that. You know, but it's marijuana. I spend a lot of my money on marijuana. And once again, I don't mean to harp on this guy. I don't mean to spend so much energy on this guy. But this is the frustration that I feel for people. Like, for people who are, like, so limited in their own capacity that they subconsciously try to bring other people down to their level. You know what I mean? It's like, just because you have chosen to live your life the way that you've chosen to live your life does not mean that that's going to work for me. And it's definitely not going to work for me because I'm way too aware. I'm way too smart. Like, and it's not to call you stupid. Maybe I do think he's still a little bit stupid, but it's not to call you stupid, but like, we just don't have similar lives, you know? And I think, like, I don't know, I dropped so many gems. I feel like with him, and it was just like a situation of like, don't waste your pearls on swine, you know? Because one of the things that I said was like, a master, regardless of what we're talking about, whether we're talking spiritually, whether we're talking emotionally, mentally, artistically, like a master knows that there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to integrate. And I don't know what he felt about that. I don't know what he thought about that. But it didn't seem like he really vibed with that idea. And sometimes he would like actively shake his head. And I'm just like, you know, this guy isn't going to work. This guy, I need somebody who's actually good. You know, because no. And I don't know, if I could give the devil his props, I think the devil is very good at convincing people things and like painting a picture that isn't really true to reality. You know, because once again, how does a person fix their lips to say, I really appreciate how spiritually centered you are, how spiritually aware you are, and then a few sentences later, fix his lips again to say, I think you're going down the wrong path, you're headed down the path to prison or getting beat up and killed. Like, what? Like, to me, that sounds like a very obvious ploy to misguide me. And maybe I made the mistake of pointing it out and being like, it feels like you're trying to misguide me. Because then he focused on that and he was like, I have no reason to misguide you. And I was like, okay, I misspoke. Maybe you're not misguiding me, but it sounds like you're misguided. It sounds like you don't even know what direction you're supposed to be going on. You know what I mean? And I didn't necessarily say it like that, but like that's basically what I said. I was like, it sounds like you're misguided. Like, so by default, yeah, you're going to misguide me because you don't even know what the fuck you're doing. You know what I mean? Once again, I did not say it like that. I said it in a much more palatable way. But I don't know. The truth is the truth, man. Harsh truths are harsh truths. And it's going to hurt regardless of how I say it. But that's not my... And that's the fucking thing. People like to walk on eggshells and like not say what they need to say because they're worried. And there's a specific... I'm talking to myself also in this moment, because there's a specific situation in my life where this applies, you know, where people walk around, where I walk around in eggshells and not say certain things because I know that it would elicit maybe a response from somebody else. But I think this is more discernment for me, because I know that the people that I'm dealing with are, how do I say this? They actively want to trigger me. They actively want to upset me and make me angry. You know what I mean? That's just the bottom line. Whether or not they ever fess up to it, whether or not they ever admit to it, like that's my truth of the situation. And so for me, it's more so safety, because I've been in situations where I did speak up, where I did stand up for something, and I basically got reprimanded in a really big way, you know. And I don't think that certain things are worth it, you know. I don't know. Maybe that's me being a coward. Maybe that's me justifying being a coward, and I'll accept that. But like, these people are crazy. These people are fucking crazy. Like, these people have, like, you know what I mean, kicked me out, laughed at me while I was like in panic mode. Like, you know what I mean? Like, really harassed me and like made me feel like nothing. You know? And so I know that I'm not nothing. And so I don't want to get into situations. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm made to feel less than. You know? Like, that's just not my MO. That just doesn't make sense. You know? Because I know that I'm limitless. I know that I am like beautiful and expansive and like amazing and magical. I know these things about myself. So I'm not about to like say something just for the sake of saying it, knowing that it's going to elicit a violent response, you know? Like, and once again, maybe I'm justifying me being a coward. See how self-aware I am? See how I can recognize that, you know? Like, get on my level, bitch. I'm sorry that this video and the last video were very personal. I feel like I know I dropped a lot of gems. I know I did, but I spent a lot of this talking about my personal feelings and whatnot. And I don't know, I can't guarantee anything, but I'm gonna try not to do that as much in the next video, because, you know. So I'm gonna end this here. I hope you know miracles happen all the time. I hope you know God loves you. I hope you know whatever you're going through is temporary. And you should keep your head up, keep your spirits high, and stay groovy. Bye.